Welcome to the Higher Authority Podcast.
I'm Paul Walsh.
And I'm Michael Weinbergs.
This is a show dedicated to helping recruiting agency leaders like you scale your business, boost productivity, and win the war for talent.
Join us as we talk to the people behind some of the most successful recruiting agencies in the country and hear the real stories behind their growth.
What's worked, what's flopped, and what they're focused on next.
Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited for today's conversation. I'm Paul, co-founder of Complete AI Solutions, and this is the Higher Authority Podcast, where we unpack the strategies and insights of the most influential leaders in recruiting and staffing. Today, I'm joined by Chengeer Lee, principal at Right Hand Talent, a firm known for its deep specialization in chief of staff placements and high-impact operator roles for fast-growing companies. If you follow his writing on Medium or Substack, you know he brings a unique blend of recruiting expertise, coaching, and human systems thinking to the way he evaluates talent and supports founders. Chengeer, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we jump in, can you tell us a little bit about Right Hand Talent?
Yeah, absolutely. Right Hand Talent, it's a boutique agency. Our founder, Zahara, started it now 3 years ago. And just absolutely crushed it in the second year and started expanding the team. And that's my purpose here. I'm here to scale chief of staff practice specifically and hiring a lot of operators from all the different kind of backgrounds. But on the back end, I'm actually doing more than that. If you think in terms of recruitment, I'm more of a generalist archetype. And like doing everything, product design, tech, you name it. If the person is there, we're going to find them.
Awesome. This is, as we touch into segment one, is the journey and the foundation. Your background blends talent acquisition, coaching, and what you've described in your writing as human systems. When did that combination really click for you, and how did you shape the way you approach your role at Right Hand Talent today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an immigrant, right? I guess I'm third generation Kazakhstani, but now first generation Canadian. I got my passport last year, and it's a whole new world and whole new journey. A lot of that stuff has been a mosaic that I've been assembling piece by piece over now 6 years and more. So when I came to Canada, I really felt like, hey, I don't have any skills. What am I having to offer? I think everyone knows how to Google. Everyone knows what research is and personal development. But apparently everything that I've been doing up until this point has been the foundation. So my background, 10 years in academia, I was a startup founder myself, built a team, built a product, know how to fundraise and manage them. And of course, just my natural inclination, I've always been into philosophy and esoteric teachings and shamanic learnings and you name it, the questions of spirituality and human mind and nature of consciousness. And that quest led me to a lot of probably deeper work. And coaching really is just building humans, right? In a sense. There's a lot of, when people say what's the difference between recruitment and coaching? Recruitment is coaching. You coach hiring managers how to hire better, and you coach candidates how to go through one of the most scariest transitions in their life, which is the career switch. And it all comes in nicely. And that's what I do. And that's what I think the future of recruitment is basically all the transactional stuff going to be automated, but all the relational stuff, all the deep inner work stuff will be exactly the prerogative of a high level TA/coaches or maybe TA coaches.
Excellent. You've carved out a real niche in chief of staff and strategic operator searches. What originally drew you to that role in particular? And when did you realize this specialization was becoming a real differentiator for you and the firm?
Totally. I think when it came to Right Hand, it was an equation with many different variables, but ultimately as an underlying philosophy, it's very simple. I'm all about building cool shit with cool people. And I just found my cool people who give me my degrees of freedom, remote work, building with the best of the best. We work from San Francisco Bay Area tech startups in AI up to $1 billion credit funds in New York and everything in between. And these are the most high functioning humans in the world, right? On the planet, the founders themselves, and obviously the right hand to talents. Right hand to founders who are essentially the chief of staff. So naturally, that's what I'm drawn to complexity of the problem. And I solve business problems with human systems. And that's basically the main motto and the main motive.
That's a great line. In regards to operations and strategy, what's been the single biggest operational win for you? um, for right-hand talent in the last 12 months, and what was the key driver behind it?
It hasn't been 12 yet. For me, I've just passed my first milestone of 6 months, but yeah, we've secured a lot of wins, and it always just dopamine hit, I would say, for a recruiter or when for a talent partner, so to speak, when the puzzle just clicks. Right, the team is amazing and the business is amazing, and they have a very big problem because they want to find a special unicorn of a human, and then you find them and they want the same thing for themselves. So it's the vision and ambition of one single individual human aligns and converges completely with the business vision, with the founder's vision. So yeah, we've placed some great operators in some great businesses. And I know, like, again, philosophically, like, I want to play infinite games with infinite people. And I've just made infinite people and infinite friends on this path. And that's always a special pleasure for me.
That's fantastic. Could you walk me through a recent placement that, in your view, really captures what right hand does exceptionally well? Like what made the match work?
Absolutely. I think like one of the funny and the challenging ones was in recently. I'm not sure if I'm probably they're gonna benefit from it, but the client's name is called Infinite Machine. Take a look. It's a super cool business. They're backed by A16Z, and they're making super futuristic vehicles. And that's basically the proposition. They want to everything that's a non-car, everything that's e-vehicles, gonna be created by them. And yeah, it's just an awesome unit. I hope and wish to have something like that. But it's interesting because the problem set is always so ambiguous, right? You want a person who ultimately has a combination of both raw intelligence, some foundation system, some system tooling foundation, but at the same time, you need a human at whom you can throw a problem. They should be able to dissect the problem, break it down to first principles, and then solve it from there. And that's the ambiguity, because we don't know what this person's going to solve. We don't know what's going to happen to us in the next 12 months. Yes, for example, the ambiguous problem would be we need to build a GTM engine, but what is it exactly going to entail? We don't know, because we need to be quickly like pivoting, right? And yeah, there's been a lot of interesting iterations, but we found a human, we placed her, she's starting in January, and it was a great win for everybody. I think she's gonna crush it, and the whole team's gonna get to the next level. So watch that business, watch those founders, brilliant team, and super honored to just and have that privilege of working with them.
That's outstanding. That'll be really exciting to watch. Yeah, watch that all develop. Touching into pain points and bottlenecks. What's the toughest operational challenge that you're facing right now as you continue scaling the chief of staff practice? Is it pipeline, quality, speed, client education, or something completely different?
It's gonna sound a little bit strange, probably, but the highest operational challenge is scaling humans, right? You're gonna talk to a lot of people, and especially founders, right, and executives. And interestingly enough, that's the pattern that we've been observing. They're gonna tell you one of the hardest thing to do is to get your talent acquisition engine right, which is basically the recruitment partner. Sometimes people say like, hey, it's very hard to find like really cracked software developer or AI ML engineer. It is probably equally as hard to find someone who is super savvy in everything that comes to recruitment, because there's so many individual skill set within this larger meta skill, right? And human discernment, the ability to read the room and influence the room, persuasion, confidence, trust building, relationship building, high speed, right? Like there's just so much high level of cognition and metacognition. There's so many things that are involved in getting this high right. And that's the challenge. The challenge is like, I wish was a technology for me to clone myself. But until then, yeah, we build good technical systems to, again, automate everything transactional. But the human work, the actual deep coaching work and discernment work, hopefully AI robots will not take my job anytime sooner. So that's the objective for us. And currently we're scaling, right? We probably going to double the team by the end of next calendar year. So if you are listening to this and you're a crack recruiter, you know that you're top 0.1%, and you're highly self-aware of that fact, we want to talk to you.
That's excellent. How much of your team's time gets eaten up by admin work, scheduling, follow-up, screening logistics versus actual relationship building and candidate assessment?
Again, systems are imperfect. I think we've got a lot of our tech right, but we also have people in the back office, right? We have our wizards who are responsible for talent operations. And it's, I think, very important in an agency to have folks like that who can scale more like higher leverage operators like myself and my counterparts, technical recruiters, etc. So the people we have, they are true enablers, right? Any kind of admin stuff, anything that is high opportunity cost tasks for us are being delegated and outsourced very effectively. Of course, again, if the systems work better, especially the integration between systems, I think we would save even more time. I'm all about efficiency, so definitely looking for ways to improve workflows.
So that, just to step back on the previous question, you're
Yep.
like, the way you're explaining that, not being able to duplicate yourself, because it's that individual talent that you have that allows you to identify those strengths that these particular candidates have. Is that
I'll give you some examples. For example, admin work like email response. We do a lot of stuff obviously, like we live in our inbox. And it would be great to have an AI system that is triaging that and does so effectively. Right now, it's just a faster speed triaging system is obviously my mind, my fingers, which is not ideal, right? I'm sure there's going to be a solution like this soon, but again, there needs to be a certain level of discernment to understand what is it exactly, what kind of action needs to be taken in response to a particular email. And how is it exactly needs to be responded, because people, for the sake of candidate experience, they need human touch. Another example would be ATS. We're using Loxo, right? They're a startup. I understand they're doing a lot of great stuff, but there's a lot of still kinks that either slowing down us operationally or just, again, not great and not polished yet enough, which is work in progress. I just wish technological progress was faster.
Makes sense. You've written a lot about purpose, alignment, and coaching. How do you ensure that candidates feel supported and seen throughout the process, even when they're not the right fit?
The analogy that I wrote a post about it probably a week ago, that my job partially is a translator, but translator not of the language, but translator of human consciousness, right? There is a founder on the left side, and they have a certain vision for their business and for themselves, how they need to actualize the business, but also how they need to self-actualize as a founder. On the right side of the table, you have a candidate who also has, it's a human. They have their own vision. They have their own purpose. They have their own core values. They want to create ultimate version of reality for themselves. And how do you align these two sides? A lot of misalignment is miscommunication, and miscommunication is, well, basically people are not trained in the science of communication, science and art, but it is misseeing. So my job is to help both parties see, right? And so there is a lot of coaching. That's where coaching piece is actually involved. You coach founders exactly on how to communicate to this particular candidate, and you coach candidates as well, you help them see how they can materialize their own vision and how they actualize their full potential with this particular opportunity within this team, within this business. And that's how realities converge, and then teams create it and they co-create reality.
Is that a delicate process for you?
Absolutely. We call it massaging sometimes. There's a lot of massaging involved on both sides.
Right.
But absolutely, right? Like you have to be, you can only bring people to your own level of awareness. So that's why your own inner deep work is very important. If you have like high emotional volatility, high emotional reactivity, if you have a thin skin, like there's nothing for you to do in recruitment game. The same thing stands for communication skill. Your communication skill needs to be 11 out of 10 to be able to negotiate, align, translate narratives and other stuff.
So a lot is exposed throughout the process to you.
Absolutely.
So jumping on the AI impact, when you strip out the hype, how is AI actually impacting your day-to-day recruiting workflow right now? And where do you see the real practical leverage emerging?
Absolutely. Again, AI, I don't know, like what a time to be alive. How did we live without this tech before? Because it completely revolutionized everything, my workflow specifically. And the stuff that's been taking like hours right now, taking minutes and seconds, right? So for example, just to walk you through my workflow, even before I'm jumping onto the call with the client, I would do my research, perplexity. I can find anything. Who are the investors? What's the business? I would do like a full SWOT analysis. I would do research on the team, products, services, etc. And the beauty of perplexity is that you can actually download all the PDFs files. In parallel, I would build a Claude system, which is like I open a project for every client. I have a project for every client, and I would start building up the project knowledge, uploading all these files for perplexity, the kickoff call transcript, anything, any kind of information. So for every client, I would have a dedicated recruitment assistant / expert in the business AI system, AI intelligence system. And it helps me with everything. You can, for example, do something as trivial as plug in a resume and say like, okay, assess the resume for me for this specific role. Or you can upload a transcript and say, okay, read the signal for me. Or you can just create job description in seconds. Like you absorb raw format, the job description has never been created. And my job descriptions are very comprehensive. I call them candidate portals. They can be like 10 pages to 20 pages. And it's a full intelligence brief from this is the business, this is why the timing is right, this is what the opportunity is about, and this is what the role really presents to you. This is why you need to join them. And self-qualification checklist, you can do actually the test and point yourself and score yourself and say, okay, this is probably a role for me. So this is the stuff that we do on that side. It's a true enabler in terms of speed, in terms of complexity. But then again, it's only outsourcing stuff that a human is not supposed to do. So for me, it's my own human discernment, is reading the signal, my instincts, the pattern recognition system, which is basically my brain. And that's what people are paying premium for. Note taking, obviously. We're using MetaView, right? I've built projects in GPT, which basically create a special formatting for my notes, and everything is trained. I'm using a system called MEM AI, and it's basically like a second brain. You never forget anything. That's a next generation note taker. And all my notes are stored there. If I need to recall, like, hey, I don't remember the candidate I talked to like freaking a year ago, right? And it's going to be there, and it's instant recall, instant retrieval. Lots of that stuff, which I would call like low cognitive tasks, can be completely outsourced to AI systems.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Sounds like you've really learned how to use those tools to the nth degree. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have not met too many people as fluent in regards to all of that type of tools.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is you may have kind of covered a little bit of it in that, what you just stated there, but if you could wave a magic wand and automate one non-revenue generating activity in your process, something that would free up hours for deeper conversations with clients or candidates, do you have an idea on what that might be?
Yeah, non-revenue generating. I think it's so interesting, but our craft is very subtle, and there's a lot of things that could be revenue generating activities. So sometimes you just have a coffee chat with the person, they refer you a brilliant candidate, and then just because you actually responded or you pushed for a call, you serendipitously find someone brilliant. That candidate might not necessarily be a fit, but their friend is actually a fit. In a similar way, I've have stories when I would just build long relationships with candidates, and then they secure executive level positions, and then they become my clients. They come back to say like, hey, I remember you, I've experienced you as a candidate. Now I want to experience you as a hiring manager, because I've never seen anything like that, and I want to work with you. And this is your BD tool. But speaking of tools, right? I haven't mentioned. So obviously we all used vanilla LinkedIn Recruiter, but experimenting with Juicebox these days, and it's a very interesting tool. Like sourcing, for example, I think it can be done better. It can be automated, and this is why people fully build businesses on top of that proposition. Yeah, these are the main things: admin and sourcing, and maybe potentially research in a way. But again, the research cannot be too much automated, because it still has to be your mind. You're being paid for your enterprise acumen and your business IQ. So yeah, I'll probably pause here.
Yeah, well, and this kind of content really exposes that for you. I can see how that would be a benefit for someone to actually get to listen to, your brain work and see what you know and how you know what you know and how it's applicable. I think that's really critical too. Given everything that you're seeing in leadership, hiring, in founder pain points and candidate behaviors, what's one bold prediction you have about the future of recruiting over the next 3 to 5 years?
One bold prediction, and this is something I'm personally betting on, is that we are entering the next age of business, and it's going to be around wisdom as capital. It's going to be around inner work, consciousness work, intuition, instinct. We already see a pattern of that. So for Right Hand, there is a sister agency, which is actually led by Scott, who is Zahara's husband, called Conscious Talent. And yeah, this is precisely the type of clientele he's working with. Every client, every founder there, they come saying, we want conscious operators, extremely, extremely highly self-aware people who are investing very intentionally into deep inner work, which is, again, this is the stuff that machine can't do. The machine doesn't know how to be a human. Machine doesn't know the spiritual experience. Machine doesn't have consciousness, like at least in the current state of it. Language model is just a language model, right? Yes, it can replicate a lot of stuff, but it cannot do the actual creative work. It doesn't know what it likes, what it means to be human. We do. And the better we're going to do this kind of work, how to coach people, how to have creative, transformative conversations, how to develop this transformative listening, how to raise self-awareness and consciousness in ourselves, in people who surround us, and largely at scale, planetary consciousness. And this is the purpose of this conversation, is to basically clone myself and scale myself. I think this is the type of skill set that's going to only increasingly appreciate and go premium in the future. And again, everything else, even like interviews, machine can do an interview and do like 80% of the same job that I would do, right? It's all like 1-2 years, give it a bit more time. It's going to be very hard to tell. Everyone wants to believe that, my job can't be automated. Everyone wants to believe, but I think we all underestimate the scale of seismic proportions of the disruption that's coming.
So to drill down, just to pinch on that, because I did
Yeah.
read a little bit about, so if you have a candidate, how do you kind of approach or the whole non-dual aspect and their understanding of non-dualism in regards to consciousness? Is that something that, some people, if they don't understand, don't have awareness, that's a tough subject matter for them to not even understand what they're missing, because they really don't have the wisdom. They haven't done the work to see kind of more of what they are and not what they are, in essence, which digs down into identity and self. So I'm curious on that. Like, do you just understand that by communicating, or do you actually get specific with some of your candidates about some of these subject matters?
Absolutely. I would, okay, there's a short form and long form answer. But it's, again, that's why it's so close to actual coaching work. So in coaching, for example, no one would come to non-duality coaching just by accident. And that's why I describe it to my clients when they show up. They say, water boils at 100 degrees. At 99, it merely simmers. Everything that's below 98 is not going to be at the boiling point, right? And this is my clientele. I don't work with anyone who is at 98 and below. I work with people who are at 99. They just need a little nudge, a little direction, and they would naturally go into this. People who are like still in their beds and then rolling around, hitting the snooze button, going back into the dream, that's not my type of clientele. My type of clientele who will look themselves in the mirror and saying, I can't live like this anymore. Something wants to awaken in me. I don't even understand what it is, but there is some seed of awakening that is right now breaking up and burst into something. And that's from there, they're looking for a facilitator, which is basically my purpose. Similar level of work, and again, like more simplified, of course, just because it's faster and transactional, you would see in recruitment and talent acquisition. What I want to hire is I want to hire highly self-aware people. So it's, first of all, the coaching piece comes from, okay, the questions that I ask, what is your vision for yourself? Yeah, we can't predict the future, but everyone has a certain vision. What kind of reality do you want to manifest for yourself? What are your core values? You seems like a very highly self-aware person. Tell me what is truly important to you. And then registering that, and you understand that picture, right? On the other side, again, there's a set of metacognitive focused kind of questions, right? You would say something like, hey, like, I invite you into abstraction layer, Paul. Like, what if you could step outside of your body and outside of your mind and look at Paul and they say, I don't want to call them strengths, but what is your edge? What makes Paul so unique and what makes him greater than anyone else? That is already a metacognitive layer, because I invite you into conversation not about how you think, but how you think about your thinking, and that your answers will reveal that, right? But ultimately, of course, the end goal is for people to wake up and realize, I'm not Chengeer, you're not Paul, this is just an ego. Ego is just a construct, and none of it is real. And once we're gonna shed all these mental constructs, all these stories, all these lies, we're gonna live a life of freedom. And it's gonna be a beautiful life. I'm a believer and a worker and a missionary in that direction, that we can create highly conscious societies.
I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I love the subject matter. Makes me think of, those who know don't say. Those who say don't know.
Don't know. Exactly.
And then how to, that's what the point of that question was, because I find that a challenging thing in regards to what I do in trying to understand people and their understanding of consciousness and awareness of that do they get that they're not their thinking mind, and that's such a difficult concept in the West for a lot. And I can see how you were saying the boiling point. That makes a lot of sense. That's you're just not going to work with those folks. Is
And
that accurate?
and it's work, right? That's why I'm also, when my clients come to me, I always say insight takes no time. Integration takes work. Like what I've been gleaning, learning for the past 15 plus years, I can condense right now in 30, 40 minutes coaching session, right? So I can explode the mind very quickly, but then actual integration, falling into the experience of it, you cannot think your way into the state of no thought. There is no way that you will be able to intellectualize yourself into, but however, you can still use the mind to destroy the mind. And this is where a lot of other works and methodologies and practices come through. But of course, again, there's more stuff to uncover there. And it's probably going to be a Joe Rogan 3 hours podcast for that.
There you go. And I am no Joe Rogan. So Chengeer, thanks so much for sharing your insights. This was incredibly valuable. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness and openness. For anyone listening who wants to follow your work or learn more about what you're doing at Right Hand Talent, where should they go?
I'm on Substack. I live and breathe LinkedIn. Text me there anytime. Otherwise, for any kind of deeper musings and more of a introspective type of work, please join Substack. There is more stuff coming, and Substack will be and shall be the knowledge base and portal towards everyone who is interested in consciousness work and how to use that to master the mind so that you could master your reality.
Perfect. Well, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this episode and haven't done so already, please take a moment to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time here on the Higher Authority Podcast.
Thank you, Paul. Take care.
Thank you, Chengeer.